What's going on, horror fans? We are descent into horror hell. I am Skid Goer. This is
Ghoul,
the one, the only, and we are back. And this is going to be a long time coming fun episode, man. I've always wanted to do a giant monsters attack, like 50s atomic panic type, destroy cities, crumbling cities, and people
anything
screaming.
you can think of.
Yeah, anything big. We don't have
Atomic Age films.
Yeah, like anything created by the bomb, or just really good dinosaur movies that aren't CGI. You know.
Yeah.
So this should be a fun one.
We got stop motion films and
Ray Harryhausen,
all that good stuff. So
stick around, guys. We'll be right back.
Cheers.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 6, 6.
Godzilla, king of the monsters, whose death ray blasts the city from the face of the earth before your very eyes. Godzilla alive, stalking across the world, crushing all before it. Is Godzilla fantasy or a prophecy of doom? For the answer, see Godzilla, king of the monsters. A tale of horror more fantastic than any ever written by Jules Verne. More terrifying than any ever shown on the screen. Godzilla, king of the monsters. Incredible titan of terror. A story to stun the mind as a gargantuan creature of the sea surges up on a tidal wave of destruction to wreak vengeance on the earth. Godzilla, king of the monsters. Fantastic beyond comprehension. Tripping beyond compare. Astounding beyond belief. The mightiest monster of them all. Godzilla, king of the monsters.
Welcome back to our giant monster episode 34. So now we're gonna get into monster movies, obviously. A lot of these movies are gonna come from the atomic age, the threat of nuclear war and space race. I mean, all this kind of stuff that really solidified America's culture at the time, and the threats that were worldwide, I guess.
The duck and cover age.
Yeah, so these movies really do have a lot in common a lot of these movies have a lot in common.
And of course, me and Ghoul grew up on these. Like if you watch TMC or AMC or
Chiller
something.
Theater somewhere. I mean, they got this stuff. Joe Bob Briggs and definitely played something.
They're nostalgic.
So without further ado, we'll start with
and we don't have all of them, but I think we got some pretty.
We got the ones that I think most of you guys are gonna know. So without further ado, we're gonna go from a long lost silent classic.
Oh yes. And if you enjoyed our little intro, you'll know this one. That was a fun intro, by the way. The Lost World. Now, this is mostly for the 1925 Willis O'Brien classic. It does come with the 60s
1960.
one? Yeah, the one where they torture lizards and make them walk across the screen. And
yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of funny. But the 1925 Willis O'Brien is definitely what solidified giant monsters attack. You had a brontosaurus attacking, I believe, London, taking out buildings. You had a Tyrannosaurus Rex fighting a brontosaurus and a Triceratops.
Oh yeah.
You know, it was just the way it was shot. It was way ahead of its time. The cinematography, definitely stop motion clay animation. It was just a lost art, and definitely Willis O'Brien, who Ghoul will talk about in the next movie as well. Classic. Can't go wrong with The Lost World. Ghoul, what you got? A total classic.
From 1933, the infamous King Kong. There's the ape himself. Taken off, of course, the story from Edgar Wallace about a giant ape from Island.
Skull Island.
Skull Island, yeah. This has a lot of iconic moments, that when they're in the theater and they unveil this big ape in this cage and it gets loose, and it's just that...
The paparazzi attacks.
Yeah, and it's a very well-known scene in this movie. Obviously the Eiffel Tower, everybody knows that, where he climbs up with Fay Wray. And
he means the Empire State Building.
Or Empire State Building, I'm sorry.
We're not in Paris, dumbass!
I'm sorry.
That was funny though, fuck it, leave it in.
With
Geography lesson for Ghoul.
With Fay Wray. Yeah, I don't know where I am apparently.
When he falls out the building, dude, when
It's
the
sad.
planes,
It's
it's
very
sad.
sad.
You cry.
Yeah.
You feel something. For
And that's what made this movie so timeless, is because it invokes emotion for a lot of people.
Absolutely.
But no, this is definitely a classic. Fay Wray, beautiful.
Absolutely.
Plays the damsel in distress, you know, and when he's climbing up the building and you just see this like outside shot, he's looking in rooms and stuff, and it's just it's so cool. It's very a believable format. I think in 1933 they definitely did
Absolutely.
real great work for King Kong.
And of course, you can't go without mentioning the T-Rex versus Kong when he when he just rips
that's
his.
so cool.
Oh, when you're watching that as a kid, it just does something to you, man.
Yeah.
And I was a huge lover of dinosaurs when I was a kid. I'm sure Ghoul is. We still are. We love dinosaurs.
Absolutely. I grew up with it.
Yeah, that was just an amazing scene. Willis O'Brien, classic.
Oh yeah.
Now going from Willis O'Brien to another absolute master in Ray Harryhausen. And we have a couple of Ray's films. This is a really good one as well, stop motion animation at its best. It came from Beneath the Sea from, I believe, 55. Yep. This was a movie about the giant octopus taking over San Francisco. There's a scene where it takes out the San Francisco Golden Gate Bridge. Oh, that's just...
It's
I
so
watched
cool.
that on all those giant monster compilation videos as a kid, and it was enticing. And of course, when he takes the giant octopus from atomic energy, obviously,
Yep.
takes out the submarine too. It's just a great scene.
And then they have that whole like, something like that cannot take out a submarine. Like they have this whole, and that's it's really,
and all the characters in these movies too. They all say the same thing, like, "How can that happen?" You know,
Yeah.
and it's right in front of them.
This one has a lot of politics in it.
Yeah.
With the city kind of fighting against itself, like how, you know,
Absolutely.
what is it? Because nobody knows.
Yeah.
But it's always kind of cool to see this big tentacle like go on these big buildings. And
Don't forget the scene where the tentacle comes on that crowd.
and it
It takes,
lands on those guys.
it looks like a big turd smashing. Great, man. Ray Harryhausen, classic, and you'll be hearing more of that name in this.
Absolutely.
There you go.
All right. What I have is
Speaking of Ray Harryhausen.
The Beast from 20,000 Fathoms.
Absolutely.
Basically, again, everything we think we talk about is nuclear based. Basically, these guys are in the Antarctic or Arctic Circle, and a bomb goes off and, you know, awakens this beast from deep within a glacier. And this, out of necessity or by pure memory, it treks its way all the way to New York City.
Based on a book by Ray Bradbury, The Foghorn. That scene where he attacks the foghorn because he thinks it's a dinosaur he wants to mate with.
Yeah.
It turned out to be a
And those
foghorn.
guys are running down the stairs, all the
Yeah.
walls are crumbling in. And, you
That's
know,
a great film.
yeah, it's got a really cool monster in it, very dinosaur-like.
Rhedosaurus.
So, yeah, it's got that always typical scene where you hear the monster, you see the monster, and you just get this crowd on the street, and everybody's running in suits and everything, looking back and screaming it. It has it. So definitely Beast from 20,000 Fathoms from 1953.
And I gotta say
It's a
real quick,
classic.
The Beast from 20,000 Fathoms influenced Toho for Godzilla. Just the look of Godzilla's head alone. You
Yep.
can see it in the Rhedosaur in The Beast from 20,000 Fathoms. I think that's really cool. Something
Yep.
from America taken over to Japan for influence. That's
Well,
a great film. It's sad when the monster dies again, like when Kong dies and then when the Rhedosaur dies.
Yep.
It's sad because they didn't ask to be brought in this world.
Well,
You know?
he got woken up because of again, a culture
Of
that
our
was
human stupidity and arrogance.
error.
Nuclear arms. It's a very real thing.
Yep.
Wait till we get to the Godzilla section. We'll talk more about that. But man, Beast from 20,000 Fathoms, what a classic.
1953.
Another Ray Harryhausen film, 20 Million Miles to Earth. Now this one is great. It's basically the Beast from Venus. This space probe brings back this Beast from Venus, and it just goes ape shit. And just there's this awesome scene where there's an attack between the Beast and an elephant with this huge tusk, and they're fighting. And just an iconic scene, of course, from the 50s giant monster movies. And of course, I think he gets bigger. Yeah, he gets bigger. And as soon as he's like as tall as a building and he's toppling buildings, and attacking everybody. This is a great Ray Harryhausen stop motion animation at its best. Awesome movie.
Next one I got is from 1954. Them.
Oh yes.
Big giant ants.
Yes.
Basically, in the desert, they do the nuclear testing,
Okay.
and everything, everything goes. The insects or whatever is left in that barren wasteland grow to monstrous proportions.
Hell yeah.
And they terrorize the city. I mean, a lot of these films are all pretty much got the same premise. It's just different creatures.
That movie actually has a really good suspense factor too.
Yes, it does.
Unlike most of these movies, this one actually has a sense of horror. Like, it's scary. And Alien took a lot. Aliens, the second one, took a lot from this. Especially the cocoon scene, the egg scene with the flamethrower. That's just right out of them.
It's terrifying because especially when they're going in the caves and things like that, and it's that atmosphere. There's the word. I mean, they do have a lot of atmosphere in these films when
they really do.
They go to that location. You see the shadows of the ants, and then they're fighting them.
And of course, the sounds they make.
It is really terrifying.
I can't do it.
These creature features are back then. I mean, it would just been a blast to see.
No CGI. Fuck you. This is real. This is art. This is stop motion animation. It's a lost art, like I said a million times. Or you could just have people in monster suits running around, like in this next one. Attack of the Giant Leeches. Now you want to talk about selling the seas of cheese? This is provolone at its best right here. I love this movie though, man. I grew up on this movie. It's so nostalgic. That scene where Liz, baby. Fat guy, remember that? Yeah, this movie has so many iconic moments. Of course,
it's a classic.
It's pretty gory too for its time. I mean, I think this and The Brain That Wouldn't Die were actually pretty gory for their time. I mean, I was kind of pushing the
envelope for its time in the 50s. Yeah,
because you got these giant leeches that attack, and they're sucking blood, and obviously that's really cool. That last scene when he explodes them all with dynamite, and they just rise to the surface, and all those bodies come up. That's just an awesome scene. Attack of the Giant Leeches is great.
It's definitely a drive-in favorite.
Definitely.
From 1955, not one of my top movies in my collection, but Tarantula. Basically, this scientist or group of scientists have this idea of enlarging animals, like rats and mice and things like that.
Yep.
Well, somehow there's an accident, and the tarantula gets out, and and winds up being a 100-foot menace. And what's cool about this is that they really played a lot. It's basically a big giant tarantula shadow walking around, and then you see up close. You see these hairy appendages, I guess, coming out, and
attacking houses and stuff.
And realistically, if you hate spiders, this really is an ugly movie because it really is based. There is a real spider. Yeah. It's just more or less like a shadow. It's how they did it. It's very creative.
Yeah, and I like when they're blowing up the dynamite at the end, and it has no effect, and all of a sudden the napalm drops. And, it's a fun movie.
Yeah, when the tarantula just that bomb drops or whatever, and it just walks through it.
Yeah, it's like what? That's great.
Definitely. Oversized arachnids. Better than that CG shit they put out now.
Yeah, fuck that shit. This is the real deal. The Blob Criterion version. This is a really good version by Criterion as well. A lot of really cool extra features on here. Man, what can you say about the Blob that's never been said? I mean, Steve McQueen.
Yeah.
Steve McQueen himself in a B-monster picture, Y'all gotta start somewhere, man.
It sold it.
It really did. This is a really good movie for its time. The effects, 1958, so the effects at their time, absolutely brilliant. Absolutely unbelievable. The Blob itself, it looks just like a massive jello going across the screen. And there's an awesome scene in here with the movie theater. Where, yeah, that's just the classic.
Classic in there.
Beware of the blob, it creeps and leaps and glides and slides across the floor, right through the door and all around the wall. A splotch, a blotch, be careful of the blob.
And I gotta cheat and say,
this is a
myself and Google say this well, the remake of the Blob from, I believe, '88, I think.
Yep, something like that.
I remember this cover as a kid going in a video store and seeing that cover. I'm glad they kept that.
It's terrifying.
Cover. Yeah.
That cover's terrifying.
The Blob, the original '58 and the remake of '88 are just essential creature features. Obviously, if you're more into action, watch the remake.
88,
but if you really like, they both have good action. Check them both out, man.
Steve McQueen, man.
Yeah, the Blob, excellent. Cool, what you got?
All right, moving into
we're moving in. We're moving
the
up.
20th century.
Yeah.
1993 is of course Jurassic Park, the Steven Spielberg classic.
Push that one.
Yeah, don't start.
That's one big pile of shit.
That is one big pile of shit.
Just gonna say that. Sam Neill, of course, in this one. But yeah, this kind of put, as far as dinosaur lovers, this really pushed, I guess, film into.
That's a first round knockout.
It pushed what movies could be.
Absolutely.
Into like the mainstream, because dinosaur films were never a real big box office.
They're more like B pictures.
But this really put a really big. I'm not going to say push again because, but it put it into the spotlight. I mean, it really made movies that you could do, this animatronics.
You didn't say the magic word.
I mean, you had Jaws and stuff, but the way they did CG in this, it was so believable.
That's a Spielberg film as well, man.
And we say fuck CG all the time, but it was done so well in this movie. You almost, sometimes we always say a little CG is okay because you can get away with it. But I will say they really screwed the pooch on this one when they started getting to like the newer Jurassic Park, the Jurassic World movies, because everything is pretty much CG in that.
You didn't say the magic word.
Yeah.
Their budget cutting, and that, to me, it doesn't water this down, but I think it waters down the franchise. So, I wish
the fact that you have Stan Winston's studio and Industrial Light and Magic working together, so you have like a 40-foot real Tyrannosaurus Rex that acts.
Yep.
That's
like
just
a real animal.
Yeah, that's just amazing.
That's art, and I always think these films came out. This came out in '93, and you got movies that are coming out in 2019. Why cheap out on it?
You didn't say the magic word.
Why is it necessary? You could do that in '93. You could do it now.
Absolutely.
Because you have the money backers. So I'm just saying that's my piece.
Please! God damn it! Hate this hacker crap.
Absolutely.
But Jurassic Park, one of a kind knockout. I love that movie.
Absolute classic. One of my favorite movies as a kid, and still to this day up there. Absolutely, right up there with Jaws. Here, Carnosaur.
That's
Now this is what you can do with practical effects, real dinosaurs.
Oh, yeah.
Not real dinosaurs, but real sculptures of dinosaurs.
Beekler does the.
Yep, John Carl Beekler, rest in peace.
We did we did talk about this one on the tribute, but
we thought this would be appropriate because this is a giant monster dinosaur episode, and quite frankly, if you notice the pattern here, we only have Jurassic Park, which I believe was 43, 94,
93,
and this one, which came out shortly after. So we only have these are our only practical effect dinosaur movies. So what does that tell you about Hollywood? Exactly what he just said.
Yep.
This is the way to do them, guys. Jurassic Park and Carnosaur are like the last two movies with giant creatures that I really even think deserve to be on this list personally. If we're missing any, please put a comment below and we'll check it out. But we're not fans of CGI, we're fans of real practical effects.
Because it can be done. It can be done. We're not going to preach about that.
No, we're not. But that was kind of our little countdown of giant monster and dinosaur films. Hope you guys enjoyed that. Like I said, we didn't show them all because that would be a very long one, but I think we got a big piece of some
the
really
classics,
good
the
films.
ones that I think people are going to associate with and know. So,
absolutely.
With that being said, guys, we will be right back after this short, brief message. Cheers.
what's going on, monster lovers? This is what we've been waiting for.
What you've been waiting for.
Yes, I'm a huge Godzilla fan, and this is our Godzilla tribute. And like I said, we're not experts.
We're not going over every
And we're not going
30 films that are
No,
ever
that would
made.
be very long. There are at least 30 films. Who knows? So many. I got most of them though. But we're not going to say like the people involved either because our Japanese are horrible. So maybe we'll put on the screen somewhere.
Our Japanese is horrible. I don't even know pretty much a lick of Japanese.
Yeah, some of the names are harder. But yeah, this should be fun. And if you're a Godzilla fan, stay tuned.
You'll
So
love
let's
this.
do this. I guess I'll go first, eh?
Hey, fuck you, buddy.
Great.
All right. Now this is from the '90s Godzilla series. And by the way, these Godzilla picks are our personal favorites. These are no way like the best Godzilla movies. Like
No.
if you go on everyone's list, it's a
It's
different
different.
list.
Everybody likes their
So
own
we try to
flavor,
do
man.
some, yeah, exactly. We try to give our own flavor and our own personal opinions. So this is mine and Google's personal favorite Godzilla film. So let's start this off by Godzilla versus King Ghidorah. This is a really cool one. I actually really enjoy the part where Godzilla. It's basically the movie where they try to erase Godzilla's past. These aliens come down and try to eliminate Godzilla, but instead they breed King Ghidorah, which is 10 times worse.
Yes, it
So
is.
then the Japanese have to make another Godzilla, and they explode a nuclear submarine, which brings another big guy back. And of course he's pissed off as hell and destroys King Ghidorah and half of the city as well.
Of course.
But yeah, this is really good. Godzilla looks really badass in this one. I love the scene where the lieutenant or the war guy salutes Godzilla because Godzilla was kind of helping them win the war back on an island back in World War II. And basically it's kind of a send-off. Pretty cool. Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah, one of my favorites. Google, what you got?
Well, we got a Toho favorite. This
Oh, yeah.
was 2016.
That's the last
17?
Japanese one, I believe.
Yeah, this they kind of revamped the reboot Shin Godzilla.
Absolutely.
This kind of, this just showed up. I remember on the shelves one day, and I just kind of went. I didn't even know they were coming out with one, to be honest.
I did.
But no, this has the elements of really bringing back that evil looking, that the monster
Absolutely.
that I think was kind of lost in the American version, especially that debacle from TriStar Pictures from 1998.
Yeah, that's the one.
But this brings back that more demonic, evil Godzilla that I think everybody was accustomed to back in the 50s and 60s.
Absolutely. That movie also has a lot to do with all the recent natural disasters in Japan, like
The tsunami,
the huge tsunami and
the earthquake,
the nuclear.
the 9.0 earthquake or
Yeah.
something like that. So yeah, this was kind of like they portrayed as Godzilla being all those natural
the
disasters.
force of nature. You have to reckon with.
Which they've always been doing. You know, Toho's always done that with these movies.
Yeah.
They've taken elements of things that actually happened, you know, government-wise or natural disasters, and put them together. So Shin Godzilla is definitely a
Absolutely.
top-notch choice.
That's a good one.
Just because it didn't get the kind of release that you would think it would, does not mean don't watch it, because it's worth it.
Hell yeah. Check out Shin Godzilla. I have another little kind of modern one. Godzilla, Mothra, and King Ghidorah, Giant Monsters All-Out Attack. Now this one really is awesome. Godzilla is an evil motherfucker in this movie. He's got white eyes, he looks like he's possessed, he's pissed off.
He's evil.
He's even more pissed off than usual, and he's a villain. Like there's a scene where he goes, he's trotting through the city, he's destroying the city rather.
Again.
And he comes, what they ever learn? He comes across as like a nuclear explosion, you know, like anytime he breathes fire, it's like a nuclear explosion basically, bigger than normal. And he puts no punches, man. He's really evil in this one. Really good film. I love the way Godzilla looks. King Ghidorah is awesome as well. This is a really fun one.
That's
Check
from
that out.
69.
Nope. This is from 2001, so it's a
A newer one.
pretty newer one from the 2000s. Check it out. It's a good one.
All right, next we got Godzilla 2000. This came out in about 99, 2000, depending on when you think a release would be.
After the horrible fucking 98.
98 version. This was kind of like them getting...
Fuck you!
Yeah.
We're gonna bring Godzilla back.
This was kind of their wanting to fix that...
Yeah. Little glitch.
Yeah, that wannabe Tyrannosaurus Rex that showed up on screen. Basically, a UFO kind of appears out of the ocean over Tokyo, and this is not a UFO, it's Gojira.
No, it's Orga. It turns into Orga. Godzilla has to save the day.
Yeah, well, Orga's there, and then, yeah, Godzilla obviously becomes more of the antagonist again.
Destroys the city again.
So, of course, obviously you get massive destruction. So I always like this cover. The cover is really cool.
There's that one English dub in there that cracks me up every time they're talking about this new missile that can go through Godzilla, and then they're talking at a conference, and the guy says something. I imagine it's gonna go through Godzilla like crap through a goose. Kills me every time. And it doesn't, of course.
No, of course not.
Here's some more. Here's some more classic Godzilla here. This is probably what more people know from the classic era, from '74. Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla. This one. I could have done without King Caesar. I don't really care for King Caesar. I think he's a little bitch. But Mechagodzilla, of course,
Each their own.
controlled by aliens. I love the opening scene in this too, where Godzilla, you think it's Godzilla, comes and attacks the city again, blowing everything up, and fighting his friend Anguirus, I believe.
Anguirus.
Yeah, and actually, I think he either kills or he really hurts him, and they're wondering why is Godzilla attacking his best friend. And then the real Godzilla wakes up and takes it out and blows his breath at it, and it shows that it's metal. So that's how we know it's Mechagodzilla, controlled by aliens who want to take over the world.
Yep.
For domination, of course.
I always remember the picture of the aliens. It's so ridiculous.
It's Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla.
Yeah.
This is a classic. Definitely high-held, and we're Godzilla fans.
Oh yeah, a lot of them like it. You'd almost think how cheesy that would be, but
Mechagodzilla is like one of the most collected figures too in all the series.
Absolutely.
That's a great one. Check it out. What you got?
All right, Godzilla versus Biollante.
Oh yeah.
Basically, they take some cells from Godzilla, some very super rare cells, and they experiment with them. With it was in a storage for plant life or something like that, and that's no good. So you end up Biollante's a big giant plant, so Godzilla takes on the vegetation.
And does he ever?
A lot of very good special effects in this one. Lots.
Yeah.
I mean, for what it was, I think this was what 89.
89, yeah, this is right after the Return of Godzilla,
Yep.
aka Godzilla 1985. So this is the sequel to that
But
series.
Biollante really is a cool creature when you think about it.
Absolutely.
It doesn't really, it's not like a plant like you would see in like Little Shop of Horrors or something like that. Like it's, it looks like a crocodile type face. Like it looks, sinister.
Takes on Godzilla. He puts out quite a fight in that
Yes, he
one.
does. So definitely check out Biollante versus Godzilla.
Absolutely. Now, this is one of my favorite Godzilla films of all time. We're kind of narrowing them down here. Also, one of the saddest. Godzilla vs. Destroya. And if anyone, Godzilla fan, knows this one, they know what I'm talking about because, spoiler alert here, Godzilla dies.
Yeah, does he?
He's basically a nuclear reactor. His heart is a nuclear reactor, and basically he has what you call a meltdown, where his body temperature reaches
core level.
Yeah, and if that happens, he takes out the whole
Blows up,
world.
yeah, he blows
Takes the
up.
whole world out. Like
Yeah.
seriously, the whole world will end if Godzilla
Dies. Yeah.
So what the Japs do is they try to freeze him to at least not make the devastation as wide.
But to kind of
They freeze
condense
him.
it, yeah, they kind of try to condense it.
And then there's Destroya, which is one of my favorite Godzilla guys he's ever fought, monsters he's ever fought. Kaiju, along with Ghidorah, that is one of my favorites. Destroya definitely gives him a run for his money, and Godzilla Jr. is in this one. And there's a really sad scene where I don't know why I'm laughing because it is sad, but Destroya picks up Godzilla Jr., lifts him up in the air and drops him. And it's sad, and then Godzilla, who's about to melt down, comes over by his son and breathes new life into him. And that's where the next Godzilla series goes.
Yep.
So that's kind of cool. But the last scene where Godzilla just dies is kind of sad, really. And we thought that, of course, at the time they said this was the last one, great, but
that didn't happen.
it was the last one for a while till Godzilla 2000. So,
yeah.
Excellent.
All right, we're moving on. We're going back in the day. We're going to 1964 in Godzilla versus Mothra.
Oshiro Honda, Ilya.
Yeah, this was the special effects by I'm going to try to say this. Eiji Saburia.
We're not going to lie,
Something
we have
like
cue
that.
cards because we cannot remember these.
Also did the effects on many of the other Godzilla movies.
Absolutely.
But basically, these two twit fairies, pixies, whatever the hell you want to call them, show up and they try to warn the city that there's imminent danger. Nobody takes them seriously.
Please return the egg. You must return the egg.
And because they try to salvage this egg, Mothra's egg, to bring in tourists and stuff like that, and to bring in money.
Tourist attraction.
And Mothra shows up and is a little pissed.
She wants her egg back, damn it. And Godzilla just shows up for good measure.
And of course, because it would not be a movie without Godzilla. So Godzilla comes and they have their infamous battle.
Good battle.
I believe 93
Godzilla
or
turns
early
into
90s, there was actually, I think, another kind of a remake of this.
Yes.
Still, and actually just as, I think, good as this.
Yeah, that's the original. That's a really fun one.
But definitely...
That's a classic.
Ishiro Honda's Mothra versus Godzilla.
Also known on our shores as Godzilla versus The Thing.
The Thing, yeah.
Now here's my last one before we unveil the last one, which I'm sure you can figure out which one it is. Gonna cheat here. Here's Godzilla 1985, also known as The Return of Godzilla. Now this, I'm so glad this was released because I haven't seen this I've never seen this version. This is the Japanese version, like the actual version that they wanted you to see. But I'll be honest. Or hell, I seem to bring this movie up every time. I rented this movie as a kid. It's so nostalgic for me. It's Godzilla 1985. This is the Raymond Burr one. This is the U.S. version. This was basically the true story of I believe it was in Pennsylvania. There was a nuclear reactor meltdown or a leak or something. And the director got an idea from that to bring Godzilla back, and that's kind of where that came from. That idea came from, at least. But this is the actual Japanese version, but this is an awesome version too. Godzilla, I think, has never looked better. I think he looks amazing in these movies.
Yeah.
He's huge. They had to make him bigger because, of course, the skyscrapers in Tokyo got bigger since 56.
Yeah.
Or 54, but
I think he was like 80 feet or something.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
It was, yeah, I mean,
he's huge. He's huge. He's pissed off. He's got. This is amazing special effects in this one too. This is like one of the better ones. This really is my personal favorite, along with this next one that we will unveil. So Godzilla 1985, guys. Which brings us to
1954. Gojira, the original.
And then the American version that we all grew up
King
on.
of Monsters.
With Raymond Burr.
Raymond Burr, of course, is Steve Martin.
Not that Steve Martin.
Not that Steve Martin. So, I mean, if you don't know the history, we're not going to give you the whole history lesson. The whole idea behind this was the Hiroshima and Nagasaki atomic bombs during World War II that basically ended the war.
Absolutely.
And the fallout from that. That's basically where the idea from Tomoyuki Tanaka, he produced this along with Ishiro Honda to create, I think, probably one of the most legendary figures in horror sci-fi that we have. Haru Nakajima, rest in peace, passed away, I think, was it last year, 2 years ago?
Something like that, yeah, that was sad.
Played, obviously, Godzilla in the infamous suit. But these movies are just
timeless.
Yeah, they're classic. I mean, from him eating the subway train to, yeah,
I always remember the bridge, like when he takes the bridge out.
The bridge, yeah.
And all the waves come and smash.
I mean, it was just these are just classic movies. So
The special
1954.
effects for the time were just amazing.
And of course, I want to make one note. Obviously, this story was also based off the Lucky Dragon #5 boat. If anybody knows that story,
Absolutely.
went by an island where there was nuclear testing, and this was actually a real life situation. You can also read about it in here. And the guys came back with.
Great reference material.
So yeah, they came back, and eventually one guy died, and then it became this whole big thing. So yeah, it's really kind of cool to. I mean, we think about all the, from Nakajima to Honda to Tanaka, Saburia, whatever. I mean, to all those guys, I mean, creating such a legend.
Yeah.
And
It still stands the test of time.
and of course, as we talk about the newest American release,
Which is called Godzilla, King of the Monsters.
and this did such a great homage to this movie, or to the original with the soundtrack. It was
good seeing that
revamped.
soundtrack again.
It was revamped a little bit in certain parts, but definitely it was there.
You could tell it was made for the U.S., but really it did have a little elements
But
from
you
Toho.
know what it is, yeah. I mean, the whole Toho feel was there.
Yeah.
Obviously made for American audiences, where you got more action and you got
CG.
But it was done really well.
was done very well, yeah.
I mean, usually I don't like to watch movies like that, but we almost expect it in a big Hollywood production. You're not going to get away from it.
It really was fun.
But no, definitely go check out Godzilla King of the Monsters, and also check out all these films.
And many more.
Yeah,
Because we didn't cover them all. But
Space Godzilla, I mean...
I want to say real quick, too, this is a great book. Godzilla on My Mind. I actually really enjoyed this one. I've had this one for a while, but check that one out. And also, the real life Godzilla King of the Monsters Time Life magazine that's out in stores as we speak, so check that out. It's a really good reference material.
If you can get some books on this, King Kong, the making of King Kong.
Absolutely.
I mean, they got all sorts of reference books for this stuff.
Of course, we're fans of Godzilla, so we got some figures. That's little Godzilla. This is big Godzilla.
Like father, like son.
But yeah, man, that was our monster tribute and our Godzilla tribute. Hope you guys enjoyed that. It was real fun. We're huge fans of all these movies. We hope you guys are too. We thought we'd do something a little different, where I was talking about gore
Horror
and slashers
yeah.
and shit.
So
we thought, let's do a giant monsters for once, dude. We always talk about when they were doing.
Fun.
And of course, Godzilla in the theater was a perfect time. So, hell yeah.
Cheers, guys. I want to thank you guys for tuning in. Of course, do a few shout outs here. We didn't get to, kind of do the things we wanted to do, but definitely want to shout out to Sean Donahue, Gatorblade Films, Death Scored Service. He's got some other projects. We'll set the link down here, so go check out his new stuff.
Absolutely.
I mean, a lot of cool stuff's coming out. Terrifier 2's you got its Indiegogo going, so we'll wait for that. Lots of cool stuff coming up.
I feel like anyone's gonna pay for that. Fuck that.
But we got a really exciting 35th, anniversary episode coming up.
Yeah.
And
That's gonna be a fun one.
You're not going to want to miss that, because it is all about one franchise of movies. We're not going to give anything away.
Well, I could say something right now, but I'm not going
So
to.
we're
It's a surprise.
not going to give it away. If you already know, you know. But so come back for number 35, guys. I am Ghoul, as always.
And I'm Skidgore, guys. Thank you all for watching, supporting. Hail the King of the Monsters, Godzilla, and Monsters All Out Attack. We couldn't do it without you. On Descent into Horror
Nature has a way sometimes of reminding man of just how small he is. She occasionally throws up the terrible offsprings of our pride and carelessness to remind us of how puny we really are in the face of a tornado, an earthquake, or a Godzilla. The reckless ambitions of man are often dwarfed by their dangerous consequences. For now, Godzilla, that strangely innocent and tragic monster, has gone to Earth. Whether he returns or not, or is never again seen by human eyes, the things he has taught us remain.